Everyone says there's a moment in your life you'll replay on a loop forever. For me, it's the exact second my husband smiled at my brother-in-law's wedding. Not a normal smile. Not a polite, we're at a wedding, be nice smile. It was too slow, too calm, the kind of smile you make when you already know how the story ends, and the other person in the room is still clueless. I remember thinking, why does that smile feel like it's aimed at me? Then I laughed it off. Because who wants to be the paranoid wife at a wedding? The music was loud, the champagne was flowing. Everyone was glowing under those soft golden lights that make even messy families look picture perfect. My sister looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. My husband squeezed my hand, leaned over, and whispered, "Crazy day, huh?" Like nothing in the world could touch us. But I swear, the room shifted when I caught that smile. It was quick, easy to miss. He was standing across the aisle, my husband's brother, holding his new bride's hand, looking like he'd just won the lottery. And then his eyes flicked to me, just for a second. And he smiled like we shared a joke I didn't remember hearing. That's the part that stuck. Everyone clapped. Everyone cried. The whole room exploded in cheers when they kissed. I clapped too. I smiled too. But something in my chest tightened like I'd swallowed a lie whole. I leaned closer to my husband and whispered, "Did you see that?" He didn't even look up. "See what? That smile from your brother." He shrugged, way too casual. "You're reading into stuff. It's a wedding. Everyone's smiling. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't." The rest of the night went exactly how weddings go. Too much food, fake laughter with relatives you barely know, drunk uncles trying to start dance battles. My husband stayed by my side, arm around my waist, playing the role of the perfect husband so well, I almost believed it again. Almost. Every time I looked across the room, I felt eyes on me, not staring, not obvious, just checking in, like someone waiting for me to figure something out on my own. By the time we drove home, my feet hurt, my head was buzzing from wine, and that weird moment was already shrinking in my mind. I told myself I was tired, emotional, overthinking, the usual excuses we give ourselves when we don't want to pull on a thread that might unravel everything. The next morning, life went back to normal, or at least it looked normal. My husband made coffee like always, kissed my forehead, asked me what I wanted for breakfast. The same routines, the same tone, the same dumb joke about how wedding cake is always better when you steal it. If anything, he was nicer than usual. Too nice, extra patient, extra attentive, like he was trying to overcompensate for something I couldn't name yet. That's when the second weird thing happened. Usually after big family events, my husband and his brother are glued to each other's phones, sending memes, talking trash about the DJ, and laughing about who got too drunk. This time, nothing. No late night calls, no jokes, no "did you see mom crying like that?" Energy. Silence. I noticed it because I know my husband's habits better than I know my own. He scrolls when he's bored. He texts when he's anxious. He cracks jokes when he's uncomfortable. That day, he was calm, too calm, like someone who already said what needed to be said. I tried to ignore it. I really did. But the silence got louder. Over the next 2 days, everything felt staged, like we were actors hitting our marks. We talked about groceries, about work, about how the wedding was beautiful. He kept saying, "I'm glad everything went smooth," in this weird tone that felt rehearsed. And every time he said it, that smile flashed in my head again. And the third night, I woke up around 2:40 a.m. for no real reason. Just that sudden jolt of awareness you get when your body decides to betray sleep. The room was dark. The house was quiet. My husband was asleep beside me, phone face down on the nightstand. I stared at the ceiling, telling myself to go back to sleep. I didn't. Something was wrong, and my body knew it before my brain caught up. You know that feeling when your gut tightens for no logical reason, like your instincts are screaming, and you're the only one pretending not to hear it. I reached for my phone, then I stopped, because his phone, vibrated, just once, soft, like a secret. The screen lit up for half a second. I didn't see the message, just the name at the top of the notification bar before it went dark again. His brother's name. My heart did this slow, heavy drop. Don't panic. Not rage. Just that cold realization that something was being finished, not started. I lay there, staring at that phone, replaying the wedding in my head. The smile, the silence, the calm, the way my husband told me I was overthinking. For the first time, the thought hit me like a slap. What if I didn't imagine any of it? I told myself I wouldn't look. I told myself I trusted my husband. I told myself good wives don't go through phones. But I also told myself I deserved the truth. And the second my fingers touched that phone, I realized whatever was on it was going to explain that smile and maybe destroy the life I thought I had, because some secrets don't start with cheating texts or late night calls. Some secrets start with a smile in a room full of people who have no idea what's about to break. And the worst part, that message wasn't the beginning of the betrayal, it was the end of something I didn't even know had been happening behind my back. I didn't unlock his phone right away. I know how that sounds. Dramatic, like I was trying to prove something to myself. But at that moment, I wasn't scared of what I'd find. I was scared of what I wouldn't be able to see. Because once you cross that line, you can't pretend you trust someone the same way again. Even if you find nothing, the trust gets dented. So I stared at the screen, glowing faintly in the dark, like it was staring back at me. I told myself I was being ridiculous. People text their siblings late. Weddings bring up emotions. Maybe they were talking about money. Maybe about family, drama. Maybe about something stupid like who embarrassed themselves on the dance floor. That's when his phone buzzed again. Not a full notification this time. Just that quiet vibration, like someone knocking softly on a door they weren't supposed to be knocking on. My heart started beating in my ears. I slid the phone off the nightstand so slowly it felt like I was moving underwater. The screen lit up when I picked it up, and my breath caught in my throat. No lock screen message preview. Just the time. 2:47 a.m. Who texts at almost 3 in the morning about wedding jokes? I unlocked it. I wish I could tell you there was some dramatic reveal right away. A name, a picture, a message that made everything clear in one brutal second. But life doesn't give you clean endings. It gives you breadcrumbs that lead you straight into your own nightmare. The last thread open was with his brother. Dozens of messages. Not new, not old either. Just steady. Like a quiet conversation that had been happening under my nose for weeks. I scrolled up, my chest tight, my fingers numb. At first it looked harmless. Logistics, family stuff, work complaints. The kind of boring back and forth that could lull you into thinking you're paranoid for even checking. Then I saw it. Did she notice? No name, no context, just that one line. My stomach flipped. I scrolled a little more. Nah, my husband replied. She was distracted. Don't stress. Distracted. The word hit harder than anything explicit could have, because being distracted meant there was something to notice. Something they were both aware of. Something I wasn't supposed to catch. I scrolled further back, heart pounding so loud I was scared it would wake him. More messages. Still vague. Still coded. Still nothing I could screenshot and say, this is it. This is the proof. Just a pattern. Them talking around something. Them checking in about whether I was paying attention. Them referencing that night without saying what that night was. My mind started filling in blanks it had no business filling. Cheating, secrets, money, something about the wedding, something about me. I wanted to shake him awake, demand answers, throw the phone at his face and watch him scramble for excuses. I didn't, because the worst part of betrayal isn't the confrontation, it's the waiting. It's the moment where you realize you're not part of the conversation anymore. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and lay there staring at the ceiling until the sun started leaking through the blinds. My husband rolled over, wrapped an arm around me in his sleep, and mumbled my name like everything was normal. Almost laughed at how unfair that felt. The next day was torture. Every word he said felt scripted. Every smile felt fake. Every "you okay" felt like he was testing me, waiting to see if I'd crocked yet. I nodded. I smiled back. I played my part. Inside, I was spiraling. Maybe I was reading into nothing. Maybe they were planning a surprise. Maybe I was just insecure. Maybe I was projecting old trust issues onto a perfectly normal situation. I even Googled it. Don't judge me. I typed something dumb like, Am I crazy for suspecting my husband over vague texts? And got a million articles telling me to trust my partner, communicate, don't assume the worst. Cool, love that for me. But my gut wouldn't shut up. Later that night, I noticed something else. My husband had turned off his message previews. He's never done that, ever. It's such a small change. But when you've been with someone long enough, you notice the small changes, the kind of changes people make when they don't want to accidentally give themselves away. I asked him about it casually, trying to sound like I didn't care. Hey, did your phone update or something? Your notifications don't show anymore? He didn't hesitate. Yeah, I changed some settings. It was annoying, too smooth, too fast, like he'd rehearsed that answer. I nodded and let it go, outwardly calm, inwardly unraveling. That night, while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed, again on the counter. The screen lit up just enough for me to catch the name at the top. His brother. I didn't open it this time. I just stared at the glowing screen until it went dark. And then something in me shifted because I realized this wasn't about finding out if my husband was cheating. It was about finding out if the people closest to me were lying to my face. Oh! Of them, the next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I went to my sister-in-law's place alone. Not to confront her, not to accuse her, just to look at her face when I mentioned the wedding. She opened the door with that fresh, newlywed glow, happy, relaxed, oblivious, or really good at pretending. We sat in her kitchen, coffee steaming between us, talking about the honeymoon, about how perfect the ceremony was, about how she still couldn't believe it was real. Then I said it. Your husband seemed really calm at the wedding. She laughed. He was nervous all week. I thought he was going to pass out before the vow. That didn't line up. I pushed a little. I thought I caught him smiling at me during the ceremony, like he knew something I didn't. Her smile froze, just for a fraction of a second. So small, you'd miss it if you weren't looking for cracks. Then she laughed again. You're overthinking. He's just weird with eye contact. But her hand tightened around her mug. And in that tiny pause, in that micro expression she couldn't hide fast enough, I realized something that made my skin go cold. Whatever my husband and his brother were hiding, she wasn't in on it, which meant whatever happened at that wedding wasn't just about secrets, it was about betrayal inside the family. And the next time I picked up my husband's phone, I wasn't going to stop at the messages, because I was done being the only one in the room who didn't know the joke. If you're watching this story, tighten your blanket and hit the like button so YouTube understands you want the next chapter unlocked. And tell me in the comments, which beautiful country are you watching from, and what's the exact time there right now? The scariest part about betrayal isn't the moment you find out. It's the moment you realize how long the people closest to you have been planning around you, like you're not even in the room. I waited until my husband left for work. Not because I was scared to confront him, but because I needed the truth without the performance. His laptop was still open on the desk, half asleep, like the house itself was pretending everything was normal. I told myself I was just going to look for context. That's the lie people tell themselves before their whole life tilts sideways. The folder on his desktop wasn't even hidden. That was the part that messed with me. Inside were security camera clips from our own living room. My chest tightened as I opened the first one. It showed him coming home late, normal. Then, 30 seconds later, the front door opened again and his brother walked in like he owned the place. I kept clicking different nights, same pattern, late hours, whispered conversations, them sitting at my kitchen table, leaning close like they didn't want the walls to hear. They only met on nights I worked late. My house wasn't just my home anymore. It was their meeting spot. Then I found the shared document, bullet points, dates, notes, about me. Sheena noticed at the wedding. She's too trusting. Make sure she's working late. I felt stupid for every time I defended my husband. For every time I told myself I was just being dramatic. They weren't just hiding something from me. They were planning around me, using my routines, using my trust. The last clip was the one that broke something in me for good. The hallway camera caught my husband and his brother sitting at our kitchen table with a folder between them, legal papers. I couldn't read the text, but I didn't need to. I watched my husband sign his name. I watched his brother nod like they'd just closed a deal. Our wedding smile finally made sense. It wasn't joy, it was a relief, like they'd pulled something off, right under my nose. I didn't confront him right away. I cooked dinner that night. I laughed. I kissed him. I let him think he was still invisible. Then I printed everything. Screenshots, timestamps. I sent copies to a lawyer before he even knew I'd seen the folder. 2 days later, I invited everyone over for dinner. Nothing dramatic, just family time. Candles on the table. Wine poured. My sister-in-law showed up, still glowing from being newly married. My brother-in-law walked in as calm as ever. My husband smiled at me like he always did, like I was still the easiest person in the room to fool. Halfway through dinner, I stood up, connected my phone to the TV, and hit play. The room went silent as clip after clip rolled. Late night meetings in my house. Them whispering, them acting like I didn't exist. My sister-in-law's face was drained of color. My husband told me to turn it off. I didn't. Then I pulled up the document. The bullet points dot the notes about me being distracted. My sister-in-law whispered, "What is this?" Like her brain was trying to protect her from the truth. I told her everything. The legal papers turned out to be about money, a debt my husband hid, a loan his brother co-signed, a plan to use our house as collateral without telling me because my name is on the mortgage too. They'd convinced themselves it wasn't betrayal because it was temporary. They meant to tell me later. Because they didn't want to stress me out. That's the thing about betrayal. It always comes with a speech about how it was done for your own good. My sister-in-law looked at her husband like she'd married a stranger. My husband tried to reach for my hand. I pulled away. "I already talked to a lawyer," I said, watching their faces freeze. "Those papers don't mean what you think they mean." When one owner wasn't informed, the room cracked open with silence. My sister-in-law left that night. I asked my husband to leave too. Here's the twist people never expect when I tell this story. I didn't walk away screaming in fireworks. I walked away with receipts. I let the legal consequences hit them. I let the financial mess they created land squarely on their shoulders. I watched my husband realize that being secretive didn't make him clever. It just made him alone. We separated. Maybe we'll divorce. Maybe we won't. I'm not dressing this up with a movie ending. Real life doesn't give you closure when you want it. It gives you clarity when you're finally ready to stop ignoring the quiet red flags, because sometimes betrayal isn't loud. It's quiet and happens while everyone's clapping. And if you're watching this thinking that little weird feeling I've been ignoring sounds familiar, don't brush it off. Your instincts aren't dramatic, they're protective. Stick with this channel. Like the video, share this with someone who's trusting their own smile. Because the next twist you don't see coming might already be happening behind your back.